Fala aí, pessoal, sejam bem-vindos a mais um episódio do Buzz Talk. Hoje é mais um episódio internacional. Se você não viu o primeiro episódio com o Sacha Fenestraz, a gente fez no começo desse ano durante a Fórmula E aqui no Brasil. Dá uma olhada lá. Hoje é em inglês. Eu vou tentar fazer uma legenda aqui, mas talvez ela fique meio a boca. Mas o nosso convidado de hoje é ninguém mais, ninguém menos que Clement Novalak, presidente, piloto da Fórmula 2 pela Trident, já foi campeão da Fórmula 3 britânica. Foi terceiro lugar na Fórmula 3 europeia e a gente vai descobrir que porra que ele tá fazendo aqui no Brasil. Então roda a vinheta aí, é nóis. Bom, vamos começar aqui apresentando o nosso patrocinador. Bom, eu tô, na verdade, com um co-host, tenho dois co-hosts hoje, Caio Apovian, Binha, vocês já conhecem, e um que já foi convidado e hoje ele tá como um co-host do outro lado da mesa, o outro Caio Collet. Veio trazer aqui uns papos, né, pra gente falar. E o nosso patrocinador de hoje é a Broad. Você que já conhece a Broad, é o seu cartão e conta multimoedas. Segue aqui, entra aqui no nosso código de barra. Com a Broad, você tem a sua conta internacional, você pode ter dinheiro guardado em dólar, euro ou libra. É muito simples, você baixa o aplicativo broad.app. Entra no site, eu escaneio o código de barra ali que está em cima da cabeça do Clement e com esse cartão você vai conseguir economizar até 10% nas taxas da sua viagem internacional. É um aplicativo muito fácil, assim que você abrir ele e se cadastrar, você já vai ter sua conta internacional. E aí você vai receber o seu cartão depois, você já vai ter um cartão virtual para começar a usar, você pode usar para compras internacionais, você pode usar para dividir contas, você vai viajar com seus amigos, você pode pagar um cartão e já divide com todos os seus amigos que tem abroad, você vai deixar de pagar IOF, todas aquelas coisas lá. Então segue aí Broad, entra, escaneia o código de barra, já baixa o aplicativo e vamos que vamos, ok? Ready?
Ready.
Clement, thanks for coming.
No worries, pleasure.
It's a big surprise having you here.
To be honest, I actually thought you were meant to be interviewed as well. So you're just a co-host now.
Yeah, I have two co-hosts now.
I see how it is.
Yeah, two Kyles.
Nice.
I already did my interview here.
Okay.
Yeah, Kyle came here already and he gave a very good speech. And first question, what the fuck are you doing in Brazil?
Man, it's been a long time coming. I've had a lot of Brazilian teammates over the years that have told me repetitively, you have to come to Brazil. And I was supposed to come last year, and unfortunately, I had a slight problem with the calendar. I was meant to come, but I couldn't in the end. And then I saw there was this huge gap, and Kai was like, look, it's not a bad time to come, right? And I said, fuck it, let's go.
Let's go. Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah. What was the last race? Was
For me,
Monza.
it was Monza.
for you was Monza? And
Yeah. For him, it's
For
Abu Dhabi.
me as well. No, we've got one more race. in
yeah,
Abu
no,
Dhabi at
but
the end of
the
year.
previous race was
Previous race was Monza.
Monza as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
And
Monza, it was decided. That's where we decided. I think we decided it on Sunday night. At the after party for the F3 season, he was just like, "Look, you've got to come."
oh yeah, the after season is finished.
Finished.
Oh yeah, true. I thought that was in Abu Dhabi too.
For us, it's finished.
Cool. And how do you like Brazil? Tell our gringo friends.
Man, I have to say, like, there's a lot of places that I've gone to as a racing driver and just as a tourist in general, where after a couple of weeks, I'm like, yeah, but I kind of miss home.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Not here.
not here.
And it's
No, no.
pretty different from home. Huh?
It's very different from home, but at the same time, I've always felt like, I wouldn't say part Brazilian, but like there's always something that attracted me to come to Brazil. And I'm not coming home.
And then what did you do here? You went to São Paulo only, or
No, we went to Sao Paulo for the first couple of days, then went to Rio to have a look around, and then came back Sao Paulo, and then obviously went to a little festival last weekend.
Did you like Rio?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's very different. It's a lot more crazy and a bit more different than I would say. Like Sao Paulo resembles the most a European city.
Yeah.
When Rio's just crazy, but it's cool.
It's very chill, right?
It's very chill, but it's like I don't know. It's different. It's different.
Yeah,
Feeling
it's
it there is cool. but-
completely different. Like you're
Yeah.
at the beach and those buildings and
Yeah,
no, it's
exactly.
beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a
Oh,
bit
yeah.
intense, right?
It's intense, but it's the most beautiful
Yeah.
city in the world.
Yeah.
Like seeing the sights and everything. Like I was telling Kai, I was so surprised landing in the plane as well because we didn't land at the international airport. We landed at the national
smaller
one, and you're like pretty much flying through mountains as you're about to land. And I was just like, man, how can you have this and the beach and not want to live here? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and you land on the ocean, right?
Yeah, you land on the ocean. I
literally
thought
on
we
the
were landing in the water. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it looks like the Chinese airport. Like looks like a private, not a private, but a fake island where you land.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His fight was supposed to be this afternoon, but he already postponed.
yeah. He was leaving tonight, but Brazil attracted him to stay a couple more days training.
Yeah,
Training.
exactly. A couple more days training and having fun. No, for sure.
And then what did you do? You came back to São Paulo.
Came back to Sao Paulo and then obviously just doing more of the stuff around town. We've tried restaurants, met new people, lots of Kaio's friends that obviously I'd met a few in London because a few of them had done an exchange a couple of years ago in London. So that's also why I was like, I really need to go back because there's these guys that I've met in London that I haven't seen in 2 years. And struck off a great relationship in the space of 6 months just because of, I don't know, Brazilians. They're just so open, so happy. They want to be happy. They want to make you happy. It's just a great time with those guys. And so, yeah, to come back and see them and then meet some more of Kaio's friends. And yeah,
It's a very warm culture, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah, but I feel like Brazil, you love it or you hate it. Like some people, like some gringos I've talked to, they're like, "Oh no, I hate the food. You guys eat beans all the time and whatever."
Beans are good.
Yeah, no, I love it too. But I mean, some people have a
Yeah.
hard time with food here as well.
Nah,
What's
me.
your-
Nah, the food for me, the food here in São Paulo is one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
The best of every culture, the best of Italian, Japanese, then meat.
yeah, you eat well every kind of food.
Yeah.
And yeah, for example.
You're French, right?
I am French.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's a pretty like
I mean, it's different, but like to be honest, I've always been very open to like different cultures. I don't know if it's down to like my family or how I've been brought up or the fact that I was racing and pretty much traveling everywhere from an early age. But for me, like Brazil and like Kaio said, like here in Sao Paulo, you have everything that you would possibly want, and the food's incredible. Like whether it's Brazilian food or any other like different country from, it's top. Love it.
Yeah, but what you said about like people that comes to Brazil and don't like for example, people from Formula One that when they come here, like there are two countries in the world that they land and sit on a armored car, on a bulletproof car, which is Brazil and Mexico. So for them, like they come here and they think they're like being threatened all the time. It's a war zone, which I mean, it's a little bit dangerous, but it's not like that. And if you go travel and you meet Rio and stuff, it's another.
And the thing is as well, you have someone to show you around.
Exactly.
So,
I've got a
Yeah.
good tour guide.
yeah.
Yeah,
That makes it easier as
That's what
well.
I said. If you come with someone that knows where to go and where not to go,
exactly.
you're pretty much safe 90% of the
If you don't, you're fucked.
yeah.
Pretty much.
No, I'm kidding. And then you went this weekend to the rodeo.
Yeah.
Is it
When-
rodeo that you say in English?
Yeah,
Yeah, rodeo.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was
very-
crazy.
it's very good festival. Like it was the first proper experience, like out and wow, yeah, it was meant.
Yeah, I got a video here. Let's put a minute of the video so people, our gringo friends and fans, understand what we're talking about.
It's very common in the
yeah.
countryside of Brazil to have these rodeos.
Yeah.
Like, they are proper rodeos, but in the end, like they become a party, a massive party.
Yeah, this is a country music rodeo event. Like no one goes for the rodeo, everyone goes for the music, and it happens like every end of September, I think.
Yeah.
Basically every end of
This one,
September.
yes.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know where the music is, but it's unbelievable the amount of people. There's like over 20,000 people that go there watch.
And there is a rodeo. I bet you didn't ride
No.
for the rodeo.
No.
So there is a rodeo, but then like if you go for that, you're gonna stay there for like
The whole day.
15 hours.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something, so.
I mean, the time zone was a bit of a thing. Like I've never gone out past 7 a.m. before, and that was the
You
case
managed.
there.
Oh,
I
never.
managed it. Well, maybe on a couple of occasions, but it wasn't a usual thing to have like 20,000 people out still at 7 a.m.
Yeah, here in Brazil, nothing ends before 7 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. It's very different, but yeah, it's cool.
Next step is to come in and spend New Year's here.
That's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah, New Year's it's absolutely like there's nothing else around the world.
Don't
New
like-
Year's
don't
and
discount it.
Carnival as well. no?
And Carnival as well.
Carnival's
The problem with
pretty cool.
Carnival, we were speaking to it with Kaio, is like
We are always
most of the racing
It
season
was 20
starts
Yeah. So it's
just around that time, or at least you've got some testing. And
need
but
a
yeah,
fake a disease or something.
Yeah, I caught COVID. Sorry, I've got to go to Brazil.
But
Do,
I got COVID.
do like Neymar, no? He's always hurt during Carnival.
Yeah.
But myself, for the last 6-7 years, since I started like properly going to Europe, I never did Carnival in Brazil.
Never did Carnival.
Yeah.
So it'd be an experience for both of us.
Yeah. No, Carnival it's amazing, but New Year's is the best. Like the environment is unbelievable. Everyone wearing white. Like,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
special. Like,
it's a tradition here.
Well, I mean, I'll be back here for sure in December.
You will do the
because
500 miles.
We're doing
Ah,
the 500
okay.
miles.
Stay for the New Year's.
That's the plan. I mean, we're gonna see, but we've got to organize it. But that would be the dream. Yeah.
No, that's the best. You're gonna want to come every single year. And so you're staying until now?
Depends.
It depends.
Depends.
It's a bit of a
Another couple
blurry.
of weeks.
Yeah, maybe.
And what you're doing now? So you're doing Formula One. You have the podcast that I saw with Marcus.
Yeah.
Marcus was here as well.
Yes. Yeah.
He was only here for a couple of days. I mean, it was a
For
bit of a
48 hours.
yeah, very, very short trip. But he wanted to see Rio and hang out with us because I haven't seen Marcus obviously now since he's joined IndyCar.
Uh-huh.
I haven't seen him, since June, more or less. So it's kind of difficult to keep doing our regular podcast
Yeah,
because if
yeah.
one of your co-hosts is not there for 6 months, I mean, if one of you two left, it wouldn't be the same. And but yeah, no, we saw each other for a couple of days, and he'll hopefully be coming back at some point as well.
New Year's too.
That would be fun. Yeah, that could work.
And then, so you're racing. Where do you live? You live in?
So I live in London.
Yeah. You don't have much French accent.
yeah,
No,
that's what I was gonna say. It's the first French guy I meet
Yeah.
that doesn't have a.
He can do the French accent.
I can put on the French accent. If you
Ah,
want.
okay.
It's not a problem for me. No, I am basically I've lived in the UK for the last 10 years now, under the recommendation of a previous manager has said to me, look, motorsport is primarily based in the UK, so you need to come and live there. And plus, we were also looking for a school at the time because my parents were like really adamant that I needed to finish school as well as racing, and they were looking for a school that was able to allow me to leave and still sort of be able to catch up, but not to have to be at the school all the time, which was good because it allowed me to finish my studies, let's say. And so that's where we found this school in the UK, and then pretty much the whole family moved
You
there.
did an Avanço in UK.
Sorry?
Avanço in UK.
Avance.
No. Didn't do one of those.
Yeah. Drivers are used to do Avanço here in Brazil. Avanço, for you who don't know, tell them what is Avanço.
Avanço is a school that's specialized in actually
Speeding up.
speeding up the process of graduation.
Yeah, exactly. And then you started racing in England, or you were racing
So,
already? Oh, no, because you changed because of racing.
Yeah, so at the time I changed, I was not moving into cars yet, but I was more or less moving into international karting.
Mhm.
So it's probably actually what is the most surprising to most people is that when you race, you'd like to think that the more you go up the ladder, the more you race, but actually that's not really that true. Actually, the less time you spend on track. So international karting is probably like where us as kids spend the most time away from school, which is probably the worst thing that you could do.
Mhm.
Because I mean, I'm pretty sure in 2016 I checked how many flights I took the whole year, and it was around 110 flights. And it's like you're flying once every 3 days or so. And as a kid, when you're going to school and everything, it's not the best thing.
No, no, yeah.
to keep up to studies. But yeah, no, we moved to the UK just around that time that I started international karting, where I met Kayo incidentally at the World Champs in 2015.
My first ever test in Europe, as soon as I arrived, my first ever test in La Conca, he was the one driving. So he was driving for Tony Kart and I was driving for Cosmic. And my first ever test, I had no idea who was driving, who was winning the championship, who was winning races. And my mechanic said, he's the guy that's leading the WSK, the World Series Karting Championship. He's a really good reference. So if you are close to his lap time, he's already good. And I looked at him. He was like really skinny, this size. And I said, him? And
No way.
Yeah, him. So my first test was with him. And then we had the European Championship and World Championship together, which was really fun.
But you were never teammates.
Well, It's
Kind
not-
of.
Kind of, yeah. Because the thing is, Tony Kart and Cosmic, since they're basically the same manufacturer of go-karts, just a different label.
Ah, okay.
We were in two separate tents, but in the end,
But
he
he-
had
Access to his data, he had access to my data.
exactly, and I could easily go into their truck, and we pretty much shared the same hospitality as well.
Yeah.
So we
Every time-
knew each other, and then the big moment where we really raced against each other was this one time that we were in at the World Champs in karting, when he finished third and I finished second. And there's a little funny anecdote at the beginning of the race was that obviously I'd spoken to Kai before, but not extensively, let's say. And Logan Sargent was
Yeah.
starting first, and obviously he had the most unbelievable weekend. I'm pretty sure he finished either on pole or second in the quali, won all of his heats, and we knew unless we passed him in the first two laps and sort of not messed up his race, but passed him and let's say put him in a bit of trouble. It was gonna be he was gonna go away and win the race by miles. And so I go up to Kaya right before the start of the race and I say, "Look, mate, don't overtake me because in the first two laps I'm gonna put on a big move." And he goes, yeah. Then I arrive. I do we go into the last corner, which is pretty much one of the only overtaking points. And I sort of half looked behind and I saw that Kaya wasn't really close, so I didn't really bother closing the door because I'd obviously spoken to him for the race. And little did you know, Kaio Colette arrives steaming down the inside, pushes me wide, and I'm just like, bro, what the hell?
Man, it was funny because at the time my English was not good, and before the final I was really really nervous. So whoever came to speak with me, I was just completely ignoring.
Just
and-
agreeing, okay?
Yeah, okay. and that's all. So at the time I didn't understand nothing that he said, and I saw the first lap of the World Championship. I'm P3, he's P2. I will go.
Caio had a big move in his mind.
And then after the race, like not on the podium, but as soon as we finished the race, he came to me and said, "Why you overtook me in lap 1? I said to you, don't overtake, otherwise Sargent would have win the race and stuff like that." And I said, "Man, I didn't understand one word that he said."
I just smile and wave.
No, but it was good. We had a good race actually because Logan ended up, completely destroying the rest of the field, and me and Kaya were just hanging around the back. I mean, no one was really close to us from behind, so it was just us two, and we pretty much
Yeah,
made a couple of moves during the
that's
race
fun
and had a
race.
bit of fun.
That was WSK.
No, it was
World
World
Championship.
Championship.
Oh, the FIA.
Yeah.
World Championship.
Okay.
Good times.
Yeah, it was fun.
And then you moved to cars together or no?
No,
You changed teams. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure in karting.
he's 1 year older than me.
Yeah.
So he moved up to OK, and
Ah,
I stayed
okay.
in juniors
Uh,
for 1 more year, and then the year after I stayed in karting, and he moved up to single seaters.
and then for first year single seaters, you did
So I did a double pro. Well, first year I did TRS in New Zealand.
yeah, I
So
went there.
the-
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was an awesome championship.
Yeah.
For me, one of the best championships as a young driver that you could ever do, just from the standpoint, and any
Yeah.
driver will agree.
Yeah.
Because you're pretty much on the road for 5 weeks. You're racing every weekend, but it's not like the most intense championship, or even in terms of time, like you spend on the track. So you can come off the weekends feeling still pretty relaxed and good enough to be able to travel, visit, do different things in and around the country. And the fact that it's just everywhere that you can access by car, it's just a 5 week long road trip.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So it's
Really nice.
impossible not to know the place or go around and
Yeah,
visit.
exactly. You have to,
beautiful.
and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
One of the most-
amazing.
Beautiful countries in the world. So I did TRS for sort of that beginning of the year, that in 2018, and then I did a double program between British Formula 3 and Formula Renault,
Okay.
and then the following year British Formula 3, and then moved on up to F3 and F2.
You won your second year in
Second year.
British F3.
Yeah, the first year basically I was more focused on Formula Renault, so I didn't do all the British Formula 3 rounds.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, the second year then I fully focused. To be honest, retrospectively looking back at it, doing a double program at that age was probably a bit too young, because it was very difficult to change and adapt to both cars, and also, I mean,
Yeah, very different cars.
They're different cars, and also you had so many weekends
Yeah.
during the year, and it is quite intense. Like, especially moving up from karting to cars. Like karting, you're used to it. You're just racing all the time, and you're there with a mechanic. There's not as much
Tension.
tension, I would say. And so, yeah, it's
And when you're in karts, you're young, and you like the other racers are your actual friends, and then but when you get to racing, cars, it's a bit different. It's a bit more tense between,
maybe for them. For me, I haven't changed. Me, I'm the same. I honestly, I would say I probably get on with most drivers and quite well, actually, to be honest, because yeah, I mean, I know we're all in the same. We've all got the same goal, and it's each for themselves. But I separate quite a lot what I do on track to off track, and that's why, like, you also have to look back and think there's not that many people that do what we do and that know what we know, and so as a result, some of the toughest opponents that you have on track are probably going to be your closest friends down the line, because naturally you've gone through the same things like your whole careers, and so there's not that many people that will have share the same feelings, emotions, and experiences, and so that's why I think keeping a good relationship with the guys who you race on track as well. As the moment the helmet comes on, it's each for themselves. But when you're off the track, why not?
But like sometimes you have like a intense rivalry with someone, and it's hard to keep a good relationship with someone. No,
I think in those moments, yes, it's difficult, but it's like when you look at like a relationship like Hamilton and Rosberg, like these guys fought each other for 3 years, but now
they were friends back in the day.
No, they were friends,
like,
yeah. And one of them, and that's why I struggled now, because like one of them is and he won another 4 championships, 3 or 4 championships did Lewis win, and Nico's gone into something completely different. And at that point, I would think, man, these guys could become friends again, because naturally, obviously, they've gone through that very tough period of fighting each other, but I mean, if I was in a team with Kayo and we were fighting about something, I'm pretty sure 2 weeks down the line we'd be laughing about the fact that because he's got his maybe like how'd you say, like something that you do before every time you get in the car and stuff. A ritual. And he puts on his left boot before his right boot. I'd hide his left boot somewhere so that he would have to put the right one on first and stuff. And stupid stuff like this, and we'd laugh about it afterwards. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm like this at least.
Yeah, I feel that like the more you grow in motorsports, or for example, when you get to Formula One, you see the drivers, like the media gets so much, they increase their fight, like they increase the rivalry, and they end up like the fans hating the other guy, like say like
Twisting.
Hamilton and Vettel, for example. If you get them, like the fans used to hate it, and the fighting, but now you see they're actually good friends, and they're always not always together, but when Vettel's at the track, it's a lot of this media attention that brings them actually closer in the end, and they become good friends.
So. I mean, to be honest, you can just look at I mean, there's very positive and negative reviews about Drive to Survive. I think it helps the sport massively grow, not just F1, just motorsports as a whole. But when you're watching a race and you know that the radio messages they're using are for a different race, you're just like, you're just making shit up right now.
Exactly.
But No, yeah, the media does.
And they actually build a conversation. Like they get an answer from a radio from another guy. Like it's completely.
Yeah.
They really make it like a soap opera. The director would be good here in Brazil, doing some soap operas.
No, but I would say the same thing. Like for me and my biggest rival since I joined cars was Victor. And 2020, we fought the whole championship, the Formula Renault championship, and then we came to Formula 3 together as teammates. And on the period of the 2 years, we had a big rivalry, and we were not really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And after that 2 years gone by, I cheer for him every race. When when I'm watching F2, for him he's one of the guys that I cheer the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is quite special because we've been through the same thing, the same academy, the same people. So it's quite
exactly. Like it's not possible that you're not friends.
Of course. At 2020 when he won the championship, I wanted to kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it.
No, but sometimes things get dirty in track, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
like Senna, Prost, one taking out the other and stuff like that. That I don't know. Maybe it's
never happened to us.
A bit too much,
We always had a lot of respect for each other inside the track, even in Formula 3 when we were teammates. We fought, we touched a few times, but never something big. So I would say was a fair relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you went to Formula 3.
Formula 3, yeah.
So you did Formula 3 and Renault in the first year, and then again both or no?
No, just British Formula 3.
British Formula 3.
Which was the champion. I won that championship back in that's a long time ago now, 2019. Was a good championship in the sense that the fact that I was let's say away from all the classic European racing that you would do. I mean, just as good of a championship in terms of level and the engineers and all the work that you put in. The only thing that's really different is the tracks. The tracks are a lot more, classic British style from maybe 30, 40 years ago. So you're racing on, I would call it proper tracks, let's say. Where if you put a wheel in the grass, you're in the wall. It's not like you got massive tarmac runoff to be able to relax down. But
yeah, they're airfields.
Yeah. And to be honest, after that, it was also nice to be away from the whole European scene because I didn't feel as much pressure anymore. It was quite nice to have just a year where I could just develop myself, and then came back after winning the championship on the full Formula 3 scene, and that was also really cool to start off in Carlin, a team which hadn't had the best results the last couple of years. And so for me, I had no pressure. I just came in and I said, I'm just going to do the best job I can and go from there. And yeah, it was cool to come back as well, because having spent a year away from European racing, I was back on a grid where I pretty much knew everyone from karting. And that year away had sort of shielded me from that. And then all of a sudden I was back in front of, you had Logan, you had Oscar, you had all these guys who had raced against in karts. And it was cool to race against them again.
And did you carry much friends from school, or most of your friends are racing or from the racetrack?
No. I do, of course. I still speak to quite a few friends. I went to a classic British boarding school, so it's you're living essentially in houses with some friends from the same year as you and many different year groups. And I guess when you spend most of your days with those guys, it's kind of like racing. You share the same experiences. You go. I mean, we did some stupid things. We also worked through loads of intensive exams. So we've all lived the same things, and so you keep in contact with those guys as well.
Yeah, cool. But all from England, or you have some friends from friends from France?
Not so much from France. From Switzerland, still a little bit.
You lived in Switzerland before.
Yeah, before the UK. From Switzerland, a couple of friends, and then from mostly from the UK, but a very international group of friends, because Sao Paulo may be a bit different, but at least in London, you can go to different sort of areas and they're actually not that English. They're more European, or French, or...
Well, in Switzerland as well, I believe.
Yeah, Switzerland as well. I mean, I was on the French side, so it was the most people were, let's say, French speaking. But yeah, no, I've had a very international upbringing, let's say, not so much French.
So you barely lived in France?
Yeah, pretty much,
Maybe as a
toddler.
Baby, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where were you born?
I was born in the south of France, in Avignon, next to Avignon, in Aix-en-Provence. So about an hour north of Marseille.
Okay. It's not close to Pau.
Pau's the other side of...
The other side of...
Yeah, it's not too far, but it's not close now.
Okay. And then you went to with Carlin, you went to Formula 3, European Formula 3?
European Formula 3. Funny story, actually. The first time that I entered on the scene, it was a bit... I don't know if you had the same feeling when you walked into the karting paddock and you had these huge trucks and everything was looking, spotless and everything. And you're arriving on a scene which is like completely foreign to you. And I was like, I've raced Formula Renault and these, and you're under a tent with the truck and everything, and it looks very good, but it's a step up. And you've got all the Formula One trucks and all the Formula One awnings, and being on an F1 weekend, like normally when we race in categories that aren't with Formula One, the tracks aren't repainted for the occasion. Like the tracks don't look run down, but they're not spotless. You arrive at an F1 weekend and you're like, "What was the track built today?"
Yeah, it's a new racetrack.
It's a new racetrack.
Yeah,
and to go through that, and then the funniest thing was that in qualifying at the time there was it was the old format of qualifying where you did feature race was on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday was the reverse grid. And I qualified 10th so for my first actual race in Formula 3, I was starting on pole. And I was like, fuck, man, I'm here, right? This is my first ever race. And
where was it?
All these Red Bull Ring. It was during COVID year. And you got all these F1 teams, like obviously no public, which was a shame. But all these F1 teams are just there. The garages are just there, and you're starting on fucking pole, man.
Yeah.
Like,
No pressure.
oh, man, the pressure was through the roof that day, and it turned out okay. I finished on the podium, which was nice. But yeah, no, it was a cool first year, at least to do with Carlin, and then moved on to Trident for year 2.
Who were you with in Carlin? Was Logan there, or he was already?
No, Logan had already moved to
F2.
no, he had moved to
Prema.
Prema. Yeah, he was there in Prema. I had Cameron Daz as a teammate, who's now I think racing. I think he's in America.
Yeah, he's in America.
And Inam Ahmed, who's also in America.
Yeah, Enam. Hi, Enam. We're waiting for you here. And then, well, let's give a shout out to Carlin. I think Steph Carlin was just, she was just shortlisted as the 2023 Sportswoman of the Year, the Changemaker Award by the Times. Amazing achievement. Go and vote. Bye, Steph. So, and then you went to Formula 3 first year. Second year, you went with Trident, and you finished third in the championship.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good year.
Race together again.
That's when we raced together again for the second time, let's say, the second stint of our career.
That was 2020.
2021.
2021.
So you just moved up from Freca,
Moreno, yeah.
and yeah, I just moved into my second year. Yeah, I actually remember the first race again. I was racing with Kayo.
Nice. It was my
and
first ever race.
It was your first ever race. It was a reverse grid, and I was starting. I mean, yeah, that whole year, I don't know why in qualifying I was sort of addicted to P5 or P6. So I was literally finishing P5, P6 every race apart from the last race. And I think Kaya, you were starting in front of me on a reverse grid or something. And obviously I had the experience from the previous year of the tires falling
P2
off.
and P3 again.
And we finished P2 and P3 again because I had the experience of the tires falling off and so on. And I could see them fighting up front. And I was like, man, this is going to go tits up at some point. They're going to lose a lot of time. So I'm just going to wait. And they sort of fought each other through 1, 2, and 3. And then through 3, I just managed to, I think it was round the inside or down, around the outside. I don't remember. They were fighting. And anyways, I passed both of the guys in front. And unfortunately finished second because there was a safety car. I was catching the leader quite fast, but the last few laps were under safety car. And then, yeah, we finished second and third again.
Yeah.
Well, you were not teammates.
No,
No.
I was in MP.
MP.
He was in Trident.
But I think that's probably the period. Obviously, we'd kept in contact, but it was probably that year where we started to really speak and be really good friends, let's say. That first year, because obviously he'd just come in on the scene. He didn't really have much pressure, just wanted to perform and do his job.
Mm.
And then on my end, I had to perform because the second year I was with Trident, one of the best teams on the grid, so I needed to do a good job. But yeah, no, it was cool. And plus, you were in Alpine, so
Yeah.
being based around Oxford and me in London, it was fairly close.
Where was your school?
It was in Hertfordshire, so in
What was the name?
Haileybury College.
Haileybury. Devin studied there.
Devlin started there. Jehan was there as
Yeah.
well. A lot of drivers, actually. Callum Ilott was there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, the reason why I went there was because there were so many drivers that had gone to that school, because they were fairly open to us traveling and being away. So yeah.
Yeah, and then you can graduate when you're 16. Is that something like that? The GCS.
You can do GCSEs.
GCSEs.
I kept going and did A levels afterwards until 18, but you can also stop in the UK at GCSE level. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
better than Avance.
Not better than Indaki. And then you did F3 with Trident, but then when you did F2, you moved to MP or no?
I moved to MP.
Yeah.
So once again, then I was for the first time against a proper Brazilian teammate in cars with Felipe, and we had a great year together. I mean, from my point of view, it wasn't the best year in terms of results. I found it quite difficult to adapt to the F2 car, to be honest. But having Felipe as a teammate for me was one of the nicest experiences because I sincerely believe he's one of the fastest guys that I've ever raced against, and one of the nicest. And so we really pushed the team forwards. We both had an input on setups and so on. He was there trying to help me as well. He wasn't the type of guy who would say, I'm beating my teammate, I'm not going to help him out, especially in moments where I was particularly struggling because I had some good weekends and some worse weekends. And in the worst weekends, he was there. I could ask him a question about something, and he would honestly let me know about what I needed to do differently and look at my data with me as well. and we had a really good relationship that year. It was good.
This was last year the
Yeah.
year that he won.
Yeah.
And how was the move for you from F3 to F2?
Tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, it still hasn't been the easiest. Obviously, this year I've been a bit more consistent, and we've pushed the team forwards to go in the right direction with Trident, because I think we started a little bit worse off than where we are now. But as a whole, I think it's not been the easiest. I think understanding the tires going from 13-inch to 18-inch rims as well has been quite difficult. And the Pirellis, well, I mean, they're not the best tires to race on, unfortunately, but they are what they are. And it's not been the easiest, but I always think that you learn more when you're going through tough times than when you're winning
course.
easily. And so, hopefully they're good for me down the line.
For you, was more like the difference in the car, or was more like the different team or the way the team works?
No, it's the car. Yeah, the teams work. I mean, to give credit to all the teams that are racing in F3 and F2, they're all extremely professional.
Yeah.
And so as much as you get slight differences in the way teams either set up the car or organize themselves, most of them
I'm talking more about the all teams. They have different ways of working and different setups and
I mean, no, that's not been the worst, because they're also, whilst they have different ways, they're also highly accommodating to drivers. They want to get the best out of the driver, and so naturally they'll change a few things if they need to change those things to help the driver. But yeah, no, I would say it's been more on the car front where I've struggled, to be honest. But hey, one more race to go.
One more race to go. Yeah. And then you have any plans already settled for next year?
I have an idea of where I want to go. Let's see if I can make it happen. Put it that way.
Yeah, it's a secret.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what about the new car? What do you think about the new car?
New F2 car.
Yeah.
To be honest,
what is it said about that car? Like,
what's been said. I mean, to be honest, you've got to wait until you drive to understand it. Personally, on the looks front, I mean, the front end looked really nice. The rear end looked kind of unfinished, but and that rear wing is, I don't know if I wouldn't call it a nice looking rear wing, but no, the car itself, I mean, it's an F2 car. It's going to be fast. It's
basically a super formula now.
Hopefully, because I mean the thing, one of the key things that I think is quite that you can see quite clearly in F2 and the single seater ladder into F1 is that between the difference between Formula 3 and Formula 4 and Formula 2 is practically the same between Formula 2 and Formula 1.
Mm-hmm.
But in between F4 and F2 you've got two categories.
Mm-hmm.
Between F2 and F1 there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So the step up as well to F1 I think is extremely hard to adapt to unless you've got extensive testing, because it's
completely different car.
It's different way to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say different way to drive. It's a different car.
Different car completely.
I can tell you that moving from F3 to F2, the first time I did the test,
was already challenging.
Man, to go 5 seconds faster a lap, like it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine 15 seconds. You'd triple that amount.
Yeah.
You'd be lost.
Insane.
You'd be lost.
Yeah.
We did a podcast with Gianluca Petekov here, and he did a move like from, of course, there were lots of things involved, but he went from
regional
to F2.
Yeah.
And he had like a very short time there, right? He had like 3 races or something. And he said, man, it was very hard to adapt. Very hard.
Yeah, it's
like new brakes, new everything, like.
No, there's that, and I mean as well from Gianluca. I don't even know if he did the preseason testing, or if he did.
I don't know.
It was only 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
And to be honest, remembering the championship that he did, he raced in Monaco. He raced in tracks where you can't even test, and that's also very different.
Yeah.
What was like the biggest highlight of your career? You think?
Couple weeks ago in Zandvoort.
Oh yeah, true. You won your first
No, I
feature.
mean there's loads. I've had loads of highlights, depending on whether they've been highlights in the sense of performance or highlights in the sense of friends. Obviously, I think racing the championship in 2019 was big because it was my first championship in cars. Karting, I had a lot of success in World Series as well. So those were very good memories, especially sharing them with my dad. And that being as well, I think the most emotional championship that I had, or the most emotional win or anything was that that race in where I won the championship in Donington in
Donington?
2019,
Mm.
because it was the first time, and you know, I had won the championship. I felt really happy and super chuffed. But at the same time, it was the first time that I'd won something without my dad being there. And so it was sort of a bit, how would you say, bittersweet, I would say. Because I was there, I said, man, fuck, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve at the beginning of the year. Plus, we had set our target very clear as winning the championship was the target. If we didn't win, it was a failed year for us almost. So there was a huge amount of pressure release when I won. But at the same time, I was like, fuck, it's the first time that I've won something. My dad isn't here to share. So it wasn't the easiest time to have. And then afterwards, I think the win in Zandvoort was cool.
It was funny.
Yeah, but it was rewarding. Like
Yeah, it was rewarding after 2 years of hard work. That was the biggest thing for me. It wasn't so much of a win where I said, happy for the fact that I'd won. It was happy for the fact that I'd been able to achieve something after 2 years of struggling with the car, with the time that I had in F2, because F3 was a lot more straightforward for me. So it was rewarding. And actually, you have a funny story.
Yeah, I was watching the race in Brazil. I was in Brazil, so the race for me was 6 a.m. starting.
Which one?
The
Zandvoort. Yeah.
So I woke up and I was sitting on the couch, turned on the TV. I watched the first few laps and then I fell asleep. I woke up with like 50 because the race was super long, red flag, safety car,
Wheels
and
flying.
stuff. Yeah, and then with 15 minutes to go because it was in the clock, he was leading, and I said, nice, super nice, but for sure he needs to stop because he's in the opposite strategy.
Mm.
So he needs to stop, and then he will
You'll
go
fall back.
to,
Yeah.
I don't know, his normal place. And then they showed the graphic of like pit stops, and everyone had one. And I looked at the TV. I was like, no way! I just woke up. He will win the race, and 15 minutes to go, he started to do fastest lap, and pulled the gap to P2 and P3. And I started to watch the phone, started to shake, watch the screen. And when he won, I called him straight away, and he was super happy.
I was also super drunk. I mean, I think that obviously we sprayed the champagne on the podium, but I'm pretty sure by the time I'd got back to the paddock, that champagne bottle was gone.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You had all right to do that.
Yeah.
It was Sunday, so.
It was Sunday. No more racing after that. So.
And then you did something in Amsterdam, or you?
No, I mean we went to a party really close to the track that was organized by some friends of I think it was the guy who owns the track. I'm pretty sure the Zandvoort track. So we did a little thing there, and but it was fairly quiet because we had Monza the week after, so we didn't want to go crazy. And
Oh yeah, it was right after.
yeah.
But then you went crazy in Monza.
There you go. I delayed my celebrations by a week.
Yeah, I understand.
He saved it for the rodeo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saved it for yesterday. 2 days ago, actually.
And well, let's talk a little bit about Formula One. We have another 15 minutes here. What do you think it's happening in Formula One now with the last seat? What's happening to Logan, do you think? Like,
Man, I think it's I love Logan. I mean, I speak to him often and regularly when we're in London and so on. And I think he is a lot better than what is been.
no, he's
for me is extremely
there's
good. There's no doubt about it.
it.
And I think it comes to the fact that once again, when you've got such a big difference between F2 and F1, it's difficult to adapt straight away. And plus, he's lined up against a guy in Alex Albon, who I think for me has got complete control of that car. Very similar to sort of Tsunoda with Gasly when he first came in. Tsunoda struggled really the first year, and Gasly was dominating everything, and you could tell that Gasly in that car was extremely quick. And I think it's the same for Albon.
Yeah, Albon's on top of the car.
So I think
He's taking 100% out of it.
So it's difficult to judge Logan.
He's there already for years, no? Like,
as well, and he's had his own difficult time in Red Bull and so on. So he's gone through the paces of Formula One. I think Logan is difficult to judge him on just one season.
Yeah,
That's why for me, as let's say difficult as the results have been, I think he deserves to have an extra year to try and prove himself. Obviously, I'm not the one making decisions. So.
Yeah, I feel that this pressure of I'm gonna sign, I'm not gonna sign, it's increasing.
It's worse. It's actually worse.
Makes
for
it a lot
drivers.
worse.
Makes it a lot worse for drivers, and plus when you get into a bit of a negative spiral with results, breaking the spiral is probably the most rewarding moment of your career, but at the same time, it's the most difficult because you're constantly getting in the car. The questions that you're being asked by the media are also, the
worst.
media want to kill you.
Yeah.
In the end,
Yeah.
As long as you're successful, they'll be happy singing your praises. But if you're not doing a good job, they'll be the first ones to tell you you're not doing a good job. And mentally, that's hard, especially for a guy like Logan or a guy like us who is in the first year of F1 because he's literally been thrown in at the deep end.
Yeah.
And if you can't even have the sort of
Support.
year of adaptation and support, it's hard the first year to take it. And so I hope he gets a second year to prove the doubters wrong.
Yeah, me too. I'm really hoping that he has the second year.
But let's see. I mean,
There's a few drivers on the line.
there's a few drivers waiting.
Yeah,
behind as
there are
well.
many drivers like the
Even
level
Felipe,
or-
no, I think there's
Yeah.
something there.
Yeah, no, Felipe. I mean, I would love to see Felipe in F1. In the end, you see all these guys, the Lewises and the guys. They've had huge careers already.
Yeah, get out, fuck off.
Let the boys in. Let the boys in.
do you think we're gonna see Felipe there?
Hopefully, I really hope so because for me, he's proved, and a lot of people said maybe he doesn't deserve a seat from the point of view that he won in his third year in Formula 3, in Formula 2, but he didn't win. He dominated.
He dominated. Yeah.
And that for me against guys who then went up, if you know what I mean, Logan, Liam, those guys, and you can tell like Liam and Logan. Liam for me has been incredible,
Impressive.
like, impressive,
Absolutely.
really, really impressive. And when you see those guys performing up there, you think, well, a guy like Felipe could just as well do it. So we may as well have him there. And plus, it'll be cheaper for a team because I reckon Felipe will last for less than a Bottas or on salary, let's say.
Oh yeah, for sure. And let's talk about Liam. Like, what do you think is happening? I have my bet.
I think next year he'll be reserve, and 2025 he will not join either Red Bull or AlphaTauri.
That's my thinking as well, to be honest.
I think something's happening there in the end of the year at Red Bull with the Mexican.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's an opinion.
Nah.
I mean, yeah,
If he
knowing
loses
it's
second place,
yeah, I mean, knowing it's Red Bull, you never know what they're gonna.
yeah,
do.
exactly. And they don't. From one side, they don't waste talent,
Yeah,
and on the other side, they are pretty cruel. So
yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'll wait and see on that point.
yeah,
But
I
it's
was
true.
quite surprised.
It's true that it's Red Bull. So in the sense that, to be honest, you can love it or hate it the way they deal with things, but I think it's ultimately they offer they do offer some support because when you look at Albon when he was in that seat, they tried to get him going. They spent a full year with him trying to help him get up to speed and so on, and I think that they offer support, but you also need to be cutthroat in this sport. And in the end, it's Red Bull. If you look at the grid, I'm pretty sure Red Bull are the ones who have promoted the most drivers who are now currently in F1.
Yeah.
And I think that's only fair to say, well, maybe you don't like the program, the fact that it's so cutthroat, you are under a lot of pressure. But
No, I don't judge the program at all.
I think it's the best way to do it because
half of the grid, like 6 guys, have been through the program and are there because of that. So
I know, and it may be cutthroat, but in the end, the best survive.
Yeah.
Put it this way.
yeah. There are many situations such as albums that they put him like to replace someone, and it's way too tough.
Yeah.
Like putting Red Bull straight directly with Max, and it's like.
And Albon had a bit of bad luck as well, right?
Yeah.
Like in 2 races, he was gonna get a podium, and something happened.
And it's the same.
Lewis happened.
Lewis, yeah.
And that's
twice with Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think as well with Albon. Like obviously, I think getting a podium would have completely changed the way driven for the rest of the year. He got it later on, but it would have changed his year.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
naturally,
For sure.
mentally, you go into a car different, and a lot of people don't put enough emphasis on that. But the mental aspect of racing is also is more important than the physical.
For me, it's 80%.
It's 80% mental.
Yeah,
Like-
if not more. I mean,
Like you have your talent, but in the end, at the level where we're at now, we're all talented. Like we've all had talent, we've all worked hard, and so 80% of it's mental. I think.
yeah. But for me, it's even more. Like if your mental is not in peace, you're.
And how do you work that out? Like, do you guys have like I don't know, like
Mental coach.
mental coach or
I
something.
mean, there's certain things. There's mental coaching that you can do. To be honest, I like to go into every race with a completely clean slate. You know, I try and forget everything that's happened in the past few days before. I meditate quite a lot before the race as well. I'll take 40 minutes and just sit there and not think about anything, completely clear my mind, breathing exercises and so on to just try and be in the zone. But I'm also quite a very chilled guy, let's say. I don't put I'm a very in the moment person. I
Mhm.
wouldn't say that I could have an argument with someone. So I've had this conversation with my mom many times because we've had arguments about me not cleaning the room or doing something like this, and she'll be angry with me. And then 5 minutes later, I'll just go up to her and say, "Hi, mom, everything okay?" And I'll have forgotten about the argument. Like I'll have done what I needed to do, but I'm just so in the moment that I don't let things in the past affect my moods. And yeah, no, it's been useful in racing because you even in races when you have an incident in the race, very often an incident can trigger something inside you that completely changes your whole race, and all of a sudden you start going backwards because you're frustrated, angry, and so on. So having the capability to try and switch
Clean
that
that
over and
and-
clean that straight away, it's been useful.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that because I saw an interview from Djokovic, and in tennis as well, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
Tennis
a lot
is
of
even
mental,
more.
right?
It's
Yeah,
even more than racing.
but what he says is that what changes like the very good players to the least concentrated ones, let's say, is that when these incidents happen during a game or something that changes your concentration or something, like the best ones are the ones that can forget it like
Quickly.
fast.
I mean,
You know, like forget about it, and it's okay to miss 1 or 2 points, do like a double fault or something, but like
Yeah.
you need a straight up.
The same as when we
Fast.
are in a qualifying lap. If you
Mm,
locked up in turn one, you will not recover the time if you try to push more the other corners.
mm.
So it's a mistake that we
Yeah.
often do, but you just cannot make up the time you lost.
Mhm.
Plus, it's a mistake that we often, like, say you do a mistake in your first quali lap or in your first quali run, going into that second run and seeing your, on the leaderboard, obviously, they give you the time, they give you how much you're off in each sector, and they give you what position
And
you're
let's be honest, every time you finish the lap, you look at the TV.
in. Yeah, you look at the TV every time you cross the
Yeah,
line.
of course.
So when that happens and you see your name, let's say in the bottom five, and you've not done a good time, it's been very scruffy and so on. Going into that next set of tires it's quite difficult because firstly you're under pressure, you can't make another mistake, and secondly you've got to forget everything that happened the run before and do the job. So it's a very mental sport. Yeah.
Mhm, for sure.
Yeah, I have to meditate quickly.
Yeah, and meditate quickly and just sleep in the car.
What was do you have any career-wise regret? Like some decision that you made wrong, or
No, I
more
wouldn't
as an
say so.
advice for
No, I mean, I wouldn't say so. The thing is, obviously, I guess compared to a lot of drivers which have, their parents or at least management involved, and mostly their parents, to be honest, involved in the decisions that they make about their careers, they're often the drivers in their career, the family or the parents and so on. Me was my dad. So until 2018, my dad pretty much managed everything that I did in and around racing. From then on, it was down to me. So I don't really have any regrets because I've just done what I thought was best at the time.
Mhm.
Whether it worked out or not, it's a lesson. And so,
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
in that sense, no, I wouldn't say I have regrets. I'm proud of what I've managed to do and figure out my way in this sort of life in motorsport, and hopefully the lessons that I've learned the past few years can help me grow on a professional front as well down the line in motorsport, wherever it may be, whether it be Indy, WEC, any of those championships. Because honestly, Formula One is going to be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But there's plenty of other racing out there, and I was one of the first ones to. Well, actually, my father was one of the first ones to tell me, look. I think a perfect example is someone like Robin Freins. The guy won pretty much every single championship he could win and didn't get into F1.
Mhm.
And it happened just at the time when I got into karts. And so my dad said, look, the guy who's won everything hasn't managed to get a seat. So if the most talented and best guy in terms of results hasn't been able to get a seat, it's down to luck. It's down to results, but it's down to luck and a different number of factors that aren't necessarily in your control. So you need to be open about the fact that you want that goal. but it may be possible that you can't achieve it. So you have to look in other championships and so on. And that's why I've always been very open to other championships and also watched other championships, because a lot of the guys like us, will sit in front of the telly, watch F1, and that'll be done. That'll be the whole motorsport that we really watch. I love any sort of racing. So.
What do you envy more, like other than Formula One, Indy, or you like the WECs?
I like WEC.
Yeah,
because I think
the new hypercars are.
The new hypercars are really, really fast. They're really cool to drive, apparently, the cars. And at the same time, the fact that you're also working in a team environment with other drivers, so you're also helping each other, and it's less of a, I would say motorsport, as much as you're involved with a team and involved with other drivers, and you would call them teammates, it's each for themselves. It's a fairly solo sport in terms of athlete wise. When I think in endurance, you're sharing a lot more with teammates, you're sharing a lot of data, you're speaking about your experiences, and so it's also quite a nice thing. And me being quite an open guy, I actually really enjoy working with another two drivers towards helping a car go forwards and helping the team go forwards.
Have you ever done any endurance race?
Not yet.
500 miles will be the first one.
500 miles will be the first one.
The carts. Yeah. That's cool. It's going to be in Beto Carreiro?
No, Granja Viana.
It's going to be here in Granja.
Yeah.
So I'm going. I'm going to watch.
Yeah, it'll be a cool race.
Yeah, that's a cool race.
I need to do a bit of practice before I ride.
Yeah.
Most important race in go-kart race in Brazil.
Yeah. Do you practice karts a lot or no?
Man, so we went, I think we went last week for the first time, and it was Interlagos, right?
Interlagos.
Yeah. It's my first time in a kart in 7 years.
Really?
So I can tell you that my first lap, it was wet as well.
Oh.
It's terrible.
I needed to get back. I need to do a few laps before I go do Interlagos, before I do 500 miles.
But 500 miles is easier. And the environment is...
Top.
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, it's amazing. Too many
understood
people.
a bit in Interlagos, but in Interlagos there was not many people. When you go to 500 miles, it's packed, and the environment with the mechanics and everyone else, the other drivers, is amazing.
I mean, we talk about it ourselves. We talk amongst ourselves. Like, I think on the way back from the track, we were in the car and we said, man, racing cars and everything is cool, but fuck, the best times were in karting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Just your mechanic, you go around Europe in the back of a van, you just get your card out, drive.
Very roots.
Yeah, it's roots. It's raw emotion, proper stuff.
Yeah. Okay, last question. What do you guys think is happening to that's for everyone, the Felipe Massa case?
I don't know. For me, it would be really hard for him to get a title, but I hope he gets something away, because what happened in 2008 was not fair, and I hope he gets something away.
Same. To be honest, I haven't really read that much about it. To be honest, I know it's been something going on in the background and so on, but yeah, it's true that at the time I was a massive fan that year. I was a Ferrari fan. I've always been a Ferrari fan, so I was a massive fan that year, and I wanted him to win. Obviously, at the time we didn't know that the race obviously
exactly
in Singapore, and the worst thing about the whole thing, I guess, is that the fact that it's the pit stop which he pits because of the crash.
Yeah.
Like everything is just so intertwined that you're just like, yeah, it's a big shame, obviously. But then again, last race of the last lap of the World Championship, you get a move that decides the championship. So it was a
series of bad luck,
Yeah.
luck events, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it was bad luck, but from a spectator's point of view, it's like I mean.
Spectator's point of view, I think, was the best ever finish in the world.
Yeah.
Last lap, last corner.
Last corner.
Yeah, he was a champion for
kind
like
of
40
like
seconds.
kind of like Max and Lewis as well. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
of course
both
there was
of them are controversial.
yeah,
now,
yeah,
it seems to be.
exactly. But that's the thing. I think Bernie Ecclestone said something about Massa's lawsuit or something, and he said, if you change this, you're gonna have to change that one. You're gonna have to change.
It's gonna open up for so many
it's
things.
gonna open some.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting the title. I mean, almost sure,
Yeah.
but he's getting a lot.
Okay.
Let's see.
But yeah, and also like I feel like lots of drivers have problems with like sponsors and finding sponsors throughout their lives, and like did you have
It's the hardest part
yeah
for drivers?
like most of the guys we talk to here, like like lots of them mentioned this problem. Did you have any problem with that, or
I
like,
mean,
it was?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, finding sponsors is probably the hardest thing as a driver. I think it's becoming less of an issue because of the fact that
Everything is growing, right?
is
Like,
growing
yeah.
massively. So from the point of view, and plus, I think, to be honest, if I could change a few things, I would change the way F3 and F2 is organized within F1, because nowadays the TV rights in F1 and most of the F1 teams are turning a profit, and some of that money could go to helping F2 and F3 teams for drivers to be able to be promoted without needing so much from sponsors. But even teams, you see it in F2. I think Invicta have sponsored and bought a share of Virtuosi in Formula 2. So I think the fact that title sponsors are coming in to help teams out and to put more money into the sport, I think it's heading in the right direction. And
in US is a bit more common.
Yeah.
Have title sponsors for teams.
Yeah.
Help with the budget and stuff.
It's cheap, much cheaper as well. So.
But I think it's opening up a lot of avenues that down the line, whilst it's been difficult for drivers to really, I guess, be able to promote more, because we need it. It's true that there is no sport like motorsport. In football, you want to be a professional footballer, you go buy a football.
Yeah.
Tennis, you go buy some tennis balls and a racket. Motorsport, you need such a huge infrastructure around that it's obviously very expensive. So the need of sponsors is huge, and hopefully that.
And it's a shame, right? Because like there's so many good drivers that can't make it. Like
for me,
because of
the way I see it is like in football, you have so many people that play football and are able to play football that the top are really the top. I think in motorsport, a lot of it is down to money and down to be able to find the budget to be able to go up those series. And I think there's I remember tons of karting drivers who I raced against who I thought were extremely good and never got their shot in formulas because they didn't have the budget. And if the promotion was able to be much more streamlined and for there to be much more investment, let's say, and sponsors, for sure, I think the grid would look completely different.
Yeah, I can see Formula 2 being professional in a near future.
I think so.
Yeah. It's like having B classes teams from Formula 1.
Well, I think the best example that you could base it on, and what I think would make the most sense, is to do it a bit like MotoGP with Moto2 and Moto3, because in the end you're already pro at that point. You're sponsored by teams or even big sponsors that are coming in, and you're getting paid and you're going up the ladder depending on your talent, rather than just depending on whether you have the budget and finding the right team at the right time and being in the right place.
How does it work in MotoGP?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's similar to Formula 1, Formula 2, and Formula 3, but they're also proper teams that are actually hiring drivers in the lower categories and so on. So and there's a lot of sponsor involvement as well. Red Bull, they sponsor drivers, and they pretty much put the budget for the season forward and so on. And so that's why you get a lot more varied grids. And I think Formula 1 and 2 and 3 could use that.
Okay, cool. We have to finish here. Thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure.
Welcome to Brazil.
Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoy your stay.
It's been great.
Thanks for my Caio's co-hosts.
You had a Brazilian experience, a proper one.
Yeah, the proper Brazilian.
2 more weeks. 2 more weeks.
Here's both hats for you.
Awesome.
Você não ganhou, né, quando você veio?
No.
Gifts from Buzz Talk Podcast. And, Caio, você tem alguma novidade para contar pra gente pro ano que vem? Ainda não?
Não, a gente tá vendo ainda. Lógico que o nosso próximo passo seria a Fórmula 2, e é o que a gente está trabalhando, mas também estamos abertos a oportunidades. Acho que diferentes caminhos, como Estados Unidos ou o WEC, lógico que seriam possibilidades, mas nosso foco é a Fórmula 2, só que hoje em dia uma temporada de Fórmula 2 está em torno de 8, 10 milhões de reais. Então não tá muito fácil achar esse budget. Mas estamos tentando.
Boa.
É $1,5 milhão, $2 milhões, mais ou menos.
De euro.
De euro.
Dois pau de euro, vai.
Depende. Se quiser uma equipe um pouquinho melhor.
Um pouco mais. Entendi.
Boa. Thank you very much, everyone. Obrigado aí, pessoal. Dá um like aqui se você curtiu esse. E é isso. Valeu, tamo junto.